Hey, good people. Here, talk to you about the critical response. Your book, you'll want to have the materials handy, your textbook, and those sheets. One is the actual essay, the other is the assignment sheet that describes the critical response, and the other is a plan form. All of those items are available under learning materials, and it would be good if you had those items so that you could look at them. I'll show them to you on the screen. You make some notes. If you don't have them, just hit pause and you can stop me in some weird pose where I'm just like that or something. And then you can come back and restart it again. This section of the book is chapter 8, which has to do with explanation. It's one of those skills. And in academics, your explanation tends to take the form of writing. And as they put here, they can't anticipate every type of writing assignment you'll work on. That's true. They give you 3 here, and we're not going to do the journals, but we are going to do the critical response. And done correctly, I'm thinking this is something you could do rather well on. I think it's over emphasized point-wise. It's 125 points, but unless you make some pretty glaring errors, it might be the best grades you can get in the course is on this. As we go forward with this assignment, there also will be readings in the book which will be prepping you more for the midterm. Or I keep calling it the midterm. When I say midterm, I mean final. But I'll be prepping you for the final and for the critical analysis, which is a rather challenging piece we'll get to later. Critical response, the tools you have, the resources, I just wanted to explain. There's this article that's in your book, and we're on page 271. And the way it's set up, Mouthing Off in America, hopefully you read this cute little article about basically there being too many opinions. He says that we think too much. You're not alone. I'm not sure thinking is really, certainly not Northrop Frye's idea of thinking, but it's a piece that rather humorously points out that our culture is rife with people making opinions. And it's a nice article. And hopefully you've read it. The reason you want to read it is because this particular article here goes on, is the article about which the sample critical response is written, as well as the critical analysis. It's a good paper as far as the critical response goes. I'm not sure it's heavyweight enough to bear a critical analysis, but we'll get to that issue later. But here there's some ideas. I just wanted to emphasize this paper you're going to be doing right here. Critical response is your reaction to a text after you have reflected on it and considered your own perspective on the issue being discussed. While as expected, you will share some of your experiences and opinions in a critical response, the original text must remain the focus of your work. You can read yourself. I'm not going to belabor it. You have some good instruction there. This paper, aside from the grammar, mechanics, diction, those issues, the content here is easier than the content in a lot of papers you might do. There are 2 content issues, what you say, not so much how you say it, that you need to keep in focus. What you'll be doing is presenting accurately ideas from the text, and you'll be presenting your perspectives accurately and completely about the text, not about the topic. The critical response here is not about there being too many opinions in America. The paper here is about what this particular writer is saying about opinions in America. And as Vivian, who wrote this section, points out, it is appropriate in this kind of paper for you to use first person. I feel, I believe, I think, etc. That's fine here. I wanted to point that out. As you go forward and actually draft this, first person is okay. Second person, not so much usually, because you're talking about me. I wanted to mention that because if you've been taught before, sometimes teachers tell you never use first person. I can't tell you that. It depends on the assignment. And a critical response, it is appropriate for you to use first person. The text gives you some good pointers. Then my friend Vivian, she shows you a plan form. Mine that I gave you an actual copy of is a little bit shorter because I don't think you needed all of it. But what it's forcing you to do, and it's a good plan, I would do it if I were you. And again, don't upload it to my computer so I can look at it. You just have it in front of you so that the next time we're talking, we can look at what you have here. And this I like because it forces you to look at the text, to not just write about what's the soulmate myth is what you're going to write about. You're going to write about that paper, not about the issue of whether there's a soulmate or not, or living together. She says things about that. And that's what you'll be responding to. But here, this forces you to actually go to the text and pull out some ideas you agree with, you disagree with, things that you might question. That's part of a response. Okay, she presents this idea, Bonnie Christian, the author of the piece you're actually going to write about. Don't be confused. Do not write about mouthing off in America. That's already been done. Why would you do that? I'm asking you to do one that's not done in the book, okay? I hope that's clear. I have had people do that. I'm not sure why that happens. You're writing about Bonnie Christian's The Soulmate Myth. And we'll talk about that essay, too, just a little bit. I don't know why I'm saying we. I'm going to talk to you. Now, of course, you have questions, email me. I can answer it. But hopefully I'll nail most of your questions, or at least give you some ideas what to think about. You want to go through her piece and pull out ideas you agree with, disagree with, things that you might have questions about. Some ideas that you might find intriguing, you could explore a little bit more. She raises them, you might look at them and go, okay, let me see more about it, and then you write about it. Now here, if you don't do it here, I'm fine with that, but you're supposed to summarize the text, and you could do it here if you wish. It is a very brief summary, and then you go back through all this good stuff that you have, and then you pick out the points you want to develop, and that makes a good plan. Actually, that's the sheet that I gave you. So she wrote about these things, locating quotes. Mine's a little briefer. But you go through, and she does have a sample critical response. So if you look at this, you can see what she did. She has a paragraph. Please look at the sample. Read the sample carefully. There are different kinds of reading. The samples of anything you're given, you should read carefully. This is to go back to that essay you read way back. This is not jet ski reading. You just skim over it. This is actually slow down, get off the jet ski, and scuba dive in the sea of words reading. See how she did it. See how she crafts the words around the ideas of the author she is writing in response to. See how she presents her own ideas about that. You want to do that kind of thing. Now, I do want to point out, you do not want to plagiarize this piece or echo it. I've had papers where people write a summary. Well, you can't plagiarize hers because you're writing about something totally different. She gives a main idea statement and the major details. That's all to the piece. That makes a perfect introduction. Then she goes through and she pulls out ideas. There's an idea here she pulls out. Read it, study it. And she writes, Randall writes this crucial point about spreading our opinions, and she quotes him. Now, you can quote and paraphrase to present clearly the idea that's being stated by Bonnie Christian in a particular place in the essay she wrote. Then she goes through and she reflects on it. It makes her wonder if part of the problem is how our society expects instant gratification. She's reflecting on that particular point. She does that several times here. The next paragraph, she does the same thing. And I want to point out how this is written. It's kind of strange, and I wanted to point out what she's doing. She has a big block quote here. And what it is it's a lot of things from her Facebook. Now, remember, you can quote. You can only quote 10%. You might wonder, my gosh, if I was to highlight all the quotes that Vivian put on here, she has more than 10%, right? Well, she does. What she's doing is a little different, though. She is not quoting the author. She is quoting her Facebook post as her own evidence from her own life, so to speak. I kind of wished she hadn't done that, and I suggested maybe you can paraphrase the kinds of things just so you don't confuse students. And she's not doing anything wrong. It's just I've noticed students see this and think, okay, it's a carte blanche kind of license. I can just quote however much I want. Don't do that. You can quote 10% of Bonnie Christian's words. And in your own presentations of your experience and your ideas as they bear on what she is saying, you can quote too, but don't overdo it. But she goes through this, read it carefully. It gives you an idea of what you need to do. And if you go through it, I think you'll have some fine ideas. For next class, you need to go and read everything carefully, and then fill out the form on Bonnie Christian's A Soulmate Myth, or The Soulmate Myth, and then I'd write a draft, and we'll discuss it just a little bit and give you some pointers. And then next week, the schedule is up. It tells you everything that you need to know. We're going to, you come in to your session with the videos next time with a plan and some drafting done. We'll give you some more ideas so you can play around. The following class, you get to get some serious revision, maybe editing. I want to give you some ideas what to look for, how to make it better, and you'll submit it the following week by email where I'll evaluate it. Concurrent with all that, this class session now, all that you had to do is read a bunch of things. From here on out, you're not only going to be reading, but you're also going to be doing some writing. You also will have ideas in the book you better be reading and doing practices for, because we need to get you prepped, really, to do the big writing assignment, the critical analysis, which is challenging, and the final, of course. But here with this assignment, I'm hoping that you will hoe close to the line what you need to do to make an excellent response. The excellent response will have a very concise, precise, appropriate summary. It will present accurately ideas of Bonnie Christian's and present with enough elaboration to be plain your responses there. So get to work on that. There's another video where I wanted to speak a little bit to the actual essay and give you some ideas. So I'm signing off for now, but the next video will be up whenever you want to click on it. I hope things are well. I'll catch you farther down the line.